All right, so today we're going to really dig into Vitalik Buterin.
Oh, yeah.
Most people probably think of him as like the Ethereum guy.
Right. The blockchain guy.
Exactly, the tech genius. But is there more to him, you know?
Well, yeah, I think this interview we're looking at today really gets into that personal side a bit.
Yeah, it really does. And we're going to get into like his childhood, his passions, even like how he deals with work-life balance,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And by the end of this deep dive, I think you'll not only, understand Vitalik a lot better, but maybe you'll find some inspiration for yourself too.
I think that's a great point. I think we put these figures on pedestals sometimes,
Yeah,
and we forget they're human.
totally. So the interview starts off talking about how his family moved from Russia to Canada when he was just 6.
Wow.
Can't even imagine
Yeah, that's young.
adapting to like a whole new world at that age.
Well, I mean, think about it. That's got to contribute to his adaptability, right?
Yeah,
I mean, having to navigate a new culture, new language, completely different environment.
totally.
Will probably, give him a unique way of looking at the world.
Right.
That willingness to embrace new ideas, which is, I mean, key in the blockchain world.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of thinking differently, the interview talks about how Vitalik, he wasn't into typical kid stuff.
Yeah, what was he into?
Like instead of, sports or whatever.
Yeah.
He was fascinated by like complex systems
Oh, wow.
and get this StarCraft,
Ah, StarCraft.
the video game.
Yeah, a classic.
Yeah, and he talks about how these games, they really got him thinking about how systems work, like how all the different parts
Yeah.
like come together to produce a result.
Interesting.
It's like he was already training his brain for blockchain without even realizing it.
It's a great point. I mean, that's essentially systems thinking, right?
Yeah.
It's about being able to see the big picture, how all the pieces connect and interact, and in the context of blockchain. I mean, that's essential. Because you're dealing with this decentralized network transactions, being verified, secured, you need to understand the whole ecosystem.
Totally. So it wasn't just a, childhood hobby,
Yeah.
this fascination with the systems. Like
Yeah.
it actually laid the groundwork for his later work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's amazing how, early passions sometimes predict future paths.
Yeah. And
Ah.
what I thought was really interesting is that Vitalik is not just this, tech guy.
Right.
He's got this whole other side to him too. The interview talks about how much he loves philosophy and science fiction,
Oh, wow.
travel, nature. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like he's this walking contradiction to that stereotype of like the, tech-obsessed coder.
Yeah, and it just shows the depth of his thinking, right?
Yeah.
We assume that to be successful in tech, you have to just focus on that one thing, but I think Vitalik's interests actually enhance his work.
Yeah, I can see that. But does something like science fiction really help you build better tech?
Well, think about it. Science fiction, it pushes the boundaries of what we think is possible, right? It encourages us to imagine new worlds, new technologies, new ways of solving problems. And that kind of imaginative thinking is crucial for innovation. You need to be able to see beyond the limitations of the present and explore new territories.
Okay, so it's about, expanding your mental horizons. But what about philosophy?
Yeah.
How does that play into his work, especially something as technical as blockchain?
Well, philosophy isn't just about these abstract concepts, right? It's about ethics, logic, reasoning, and these are critical when you're building technology that has the potential to, completely change society.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the questions Vitalik had to grapple with when developing Ethereum decentralization, security, accessibility.
Yeah.
I mean, his philosophical background probably really helped him think through these complex issues and design a system that reflected his values.
So it's about bringing ethics to the tech world.
Exactly.
Not just building things, but like considering the impact those things will have on people.
Yeah, making sure that technology serves humanity.
Right? Not the other way around. And this makes me think about like my own work-life balance or lack thereof.
Oh, yeah.
Even Vitalik,
Yeah.
this leading figure in tech, he admits he struggled with it, especially early on with Ethereum.
Well, it's a common challenge, right?
Yeah.
Especially in a field that's constantly, changing and demanding so much of our time.
Totally. But the key is like recognizing the importance of taking care of yourself
Absolutely.
and creating space for things that like recharge you.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of refreshing to hear that someone like Vitalik also faced these challenges.
Yeah.
Makes me feel less guilty about, my own struggle.
All struggle with it.
Exactly. And the important thing is that he, acknowledged the issue and he made changes. The interview talks about how he makes time for physical activity,
Oh, it's a great.
meditation, dedicated downtime, to help him stay focused and prevent burnout.
I love that.
I'm taking notes here.
Me too.
This reminds me of something I read about how important mindfulness is for creative thinking.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But let's get back to Vitalik. You mentioned earlier something about family being really grounding for him.
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
Well, in the interview, he talks about how his father actually introduced him to Bitcoin.
Oh, wow.
And it was from that initial spark that the idea for Ethereum eventually emerged.
Talk about a full circle moment.
Yeah.
It's like his family played a role in setting him on this path.
It really shows the impact of those early influences, right?
Yeah.
The people who shape our thinking, and even with all his success, Vitalik clearly values those family connections. It shows his humility and the importance of staying grounded.
Yeah, it's like they provide this balance to the craziness of the tech world.
Exactly. It's a reminder that success isn't just about what you achieve professionally. It's about the relationships that give our lives, meaning,
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
It's about the people we surround ourselves with.
Absolutely.
It's really interesting to see this more like complete picture of Vitalik. Not just the tech stuff, but like what he cares about outside of that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interview talks about something I thought was super intriguing, like Vitalik's legacy, what he wants to be remembered for.
Yeah, that's a big question, right?
Yeah, and you can tell he's not in it just to build technology, for the sake of it.
Right.
He wants to use his skills to make a difference in the world. He talks about, creating tools that give people more power, that kind of level the playing field.
Yeah, I mean, so much of the tech world feels, exclusive.
Yeah.
Even intimidating sometimes. And it's refreshing to hear someone like Vitalik talking about inclusivity.
I agree. And, that really connects to his interest in social impact, which you see in his work with Ethereum.
Yeah, how so?
Well, one of the core principles is decentralization, right?
Right.
This idea of distributing power more broadly, which totally aligns with, empowering people, creating a fairer society.
So it's not just about like the tech itself, it's about the potential for social change.
Exactly. Technology is a way to make a better world. And this leads to what I think is the most valuable part of the interview, his advice for aspiring innovators.
Ooh, yeah. What's the secret?
He emphasizes two things: challenging assumptions and following your passion.
I remember him saying, like, thinking differently. But what does that really mean, like, in practice?
It means questioning the way things are looking at problems from, a different angle. Not being afraid to go against the grain.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how Vitalik approached Ethereum. At the time, Bitcoin was like the big thing,
Right.
But Vitalik saw the limits. He wanted a platform that could do way more than just money transactions, support all sorts of decentralized applications.
So he didn't just accept the way things were. He saw a chance to do something different.
Exactly. And that's where following your passion comes in.
Oh.
Because innovation's not easy, right?
Yeah.
You face challenges, setbacks, people doubting you.
Oh, yeah. I've been there.
But that's where passion keeps you going. It gives you the resilience to keep pushing forward, to learn from your mistakes. And Vitalik clearly has that passion. He believes in the power of blockchain to change things for the better.
It's inspiring to hear that from someone who's accomplished so much,
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that everyone needs that drive to keep innovating.
Absolutely. Passion is what separates the people who just dip their toes in from those who really commit to making a difference.
So we've talked about Vitalik's childhood, his interests, his commitment to ethical tech, his advice for innovators.
Yeah, it's been great.
But before we wrap up, I want to go back to systems thinking for a minute.
Okay.
Can you break that down a bit more? Why is it so important for blockchain?
Sure. Well, systems thinking is basically the ability to see how things are connected, understanding how the different parts of a system interact and influence each other.
Okay.
And in blockchain, that's essential because it's such a complex technology with so many moving parts. You've got the decentralized network, the cryptography, the consensus mechanisms, smart contracts, all of it.
It's a lot.
To really get it, you need to see how all these pieces fit together.
So it's not just knowing the individual parts, it's seeing the big picture, the relationships between them.
Exactly. And this is where Vitalik's early interest in complex systems comes in.
Yeah.
He developed that systems thinking muscle, which is so key for navigating blockchain.
It's amazing how these seemingly like random parts of his life, playing StarCraft, studying philosophy, all come together in his work with Ethereum.
It really shows the power of having a multifaceted mind.
Totally. It challenges that idea that we need to specialize in one tiny thing to be successful.
Yeah. Vitalik's story shows the value of drawing from all sorts of experiences.
I love that takeaway. It's like
Right.
sometimes our greatest strengths come from the unexpected connections we make between things.
Absolutely. And that's a great message for anyone, really, whether you're in tech or anything else.
Yeah.
Embrace your curiosity, explore different things, and don't be afraid to, connect the dots in your own way. You never know what incredible ideas might come out of it.
It's kind of wild to think that something as big as Ethereum, you know,
Yeah.
started with just someone being curious.
Really shows the power of one person's vision, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Vitalik
Yeah.
saw a problem, had an idea, and just went for it.
And ended up changing technology, inspiring so many others along the way.
Yeah. It's like a reminder that innovation often comes from people who are willing to challenge the way things are,
Oh, absolutely. Those who aren't afraid to think differently.
And what's really cool about Vitalik is he's not in it for the money or fame.
Right. He's not.
It's about using tech to empower people.
Yeah, to make a more fair and decentralized world.
That's what makes him different from a lot of tech figures. It's not just about disruption for the sake of it.
It's about positive change.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive into Vitalik, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about. We've learned about his unique journey, his interests, his commitment to ethical tech, his vision for the future.
Right.
But what can we take away from all this?
I think the biggest thing is the power of curiosity and having the courage to think differently.
Yeah.
Vitalik's story shows us that innovation often starts with questioning things, challenging assumptions, exploring new perspectives.
It's about always being open to learning and growing.
Exactly. And realizing that all those passions we have, even the ones that seem totally unrelated to our work,
Yeah.
they can make us better thinkers and lead to breakthroughs we never expected.
So as you go about your day, try to channel your inner Vitalik.
Yeah, I love that.
Ask yourself, what needs a fresh perspective in your life? What assumptions are holding you back?
What are you passionate about that could fuel your own innovation?
Yeah. What could be your contribution to the world?
Because just like Vitalik, you have the potential to create something amazing.
Absolutely. Well, that's it for our deep dive into Vitalik Buterin.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.